In the year 1720, long before electricity, railroads, or paved roads, there was a stretch of land in colonial America that most maps refused to name. Travelers called it Black Hollow, a place where forests grew unnaturally dense, and daylight seemed afraid to linger. Even at noon, shadows stretched too long, and the air carried a cold heaviness that pressed against the chest. Birds avoided the area. Horses became restless. Compasses spun without reason. At the center of Black Hollow stood a church. It was not large nor grand, yet something about it demanded attention. Built entirely from dark, aged wood, its walls were warped, as if they had grown rather than been constructed. The roof sagged like a tired spine. Moss clung to every surface, and the windows were so clouded with age that no one could see inside. There were no paths leading to it, no gravestones nearby, no sign of a community that might have worshipped there. Yet the bell still rang. Every night, exactly at midnight, 12 slow tolls echoed through the forest, not loud, but deep and hollow, as though the sound traveled through soil and bone before reaching human ears. Those who heard it often woke gasping, hearts pounding, unsure whether the sound had come from outside or from inside their own heads. No one remembered who built the church. No one remembered when it first appeared. But everyone remembered the man who claimed it. Father Elijah Crow arrived in Black Hollow 19 years earlier, walking alone from the eastern colonies. He carried no wagon, no companions, no visible supplies beyond a long coat and a small leather-bound journal chained to his belt. He said little about his past. When asked where he came from, he only replied, "From where God no longer listens." At first, the settlers welcomed him. A priest, even a strange one, was better than no priest at all. But it did not take long for unease to replace gratitude. Father Elijah never rang the bell during the day. He never held regular sermons. When he did speak, his words were calm but unsettling, filled with references not to salvation, but to balance, debt, and hunger. He refused to bless newborns after sunset. He forbade anyone from entering the church basement, locking the door with a heavy iron key he wore around his neck. Villagers noticed that he did not seem to age. Years passed, but his face remained unchanged. His eyes, pale and watchful, seemed to reflect candlelight even in darkness. Sometimes, when he walked through the forest, people swore his shadow moved a second too late, as if it struggled to follow him. Then the children began to disappear. The first was a boy named Samuel Whitaker, only 7 years old. He vanished on a foggy evening while collecting firewood near the church. His mother found his shoes neatly placed at the church door the next morning, soles clean, laces untied. Within months, 5 more children vanished. No signs of struggle, no tracks, no blood in the woods, only shoes, always shoes. Fear spread through Black Hollow like a sickness. Parents barred their doors at night. Mothers whispered prayers over their children while fathers sharpened tools into weapons. The bell continued to ring every midnight, each toll feeling heavier than the last. When confronted, Father Elijah denied nothing and confessed nothing. He merely said, "The church must be fed." Those words sealed his fate. One cold night, the villagers dragged him from the church. He did not resist. He did not beg. As they bound him to a stake and set the wood alight, his face remained calm, almost relieved. Flames climbed his body, crackling through the silent forest. As his flesh burned, Father Elijah screamed, not in pain, but in warning. "You are not killing me," he shouted through the smoke. You are waking what sleeps beneath this place." The fire consumed him completely. By morning, nothing remained but ash and the iron key, still unburned. For a time, Black Hollow believed the nightmare was over, but the bell still rang. 30 years passed. Then more people vanished. Not children this time, adults, travelers, hunters, a midwife, a soldier. Anyone who stepped inside the church after sunset was never seen again. Those who entered during daylight returned changed, silent, pale, refusing to speak of what they had seen. Some scratched symbols into their walls at night. Others drowned themselves in the river, claiming they could hear breathing beneath the water. By 1720, Black Hollow was nearly abandoned. That was when Thomas Reed arrived. Thomas was a surveyor sent by the colonial government to chart unexplored lands. He was practical, skeptical, and unmoved by superstition. When locals warned him about the church, he dismissed their stories as fear passed down through generations. On his first night in Black Hollow, the bell woke him. 12 slow tolls. The sound seemed closer than it should have been. Against his better judgment, Thomas followed it. The church door stood open, though no wind stirred. Inside, candles burned fresh and bright, their flames steady as if recently lit. The air smelled of damp earth and old stone. At the altar, he noticed disturbed soil, recently dug. A faint sound reached his ears, not a cry, but a soft, rhythmic breathing, rising from beneath the floorboards. Thomas descended into the basement. The walls were carved with symbols older than any language he recognized. Chains hung unused, yet warm to the touch. At the center of the room was a pit, deep and narrow, lined with bone, and something was moving inside it. A voice spoke from the darkness, low and patient. "One soul every 30 years," it whispered. "The debt remains unpaid." The bell rang again. Thomas never returned. The next morning, villagers found his coat folded neatly at the church door. Today, Black Hollow exists only as a blank space on maps. But on quiet nights, deep in the American wilderness, travelers still report hearing a bell at midnight, 12 slow tolls, and something beneath the ground waiting to be fed.